Hey everybody, I'm Grandmaster Ben Feingold. This is 5 Minutes with Ben, and I'm Ben. We're going to look at a game from the tournament that was completed last week, the U.S. Junior Girls. In fact, many years ago when I worked at the St. Louis Chess Club, I talked to the executive director, Tony Rich, and I said, we have the U.S. Championship and the U.S. Women's Championship and the U.S. Junior Championship, sometimes held at similar times. So anyway, we should have the U.S. Junior Girls Championship also. The event didn't exist. And, because weekends, St. Louis has money. He said, that's a good idea. I'll talk to the USCF. And the U.S. Chess Federation said, no, we don't want to do that because we have some open women's tournament at the U.S. Open, and we don't want people playing in your event instead of ours. I mean, it wouldn't be our event. It's a U.S. National Championship. Anyway, about 2 years later, the U.S. Chess Federation started having the event. They just changed their mind and did it without St. Louis. Now St. Louis does it every year. So my original idea came to fruition because if you're going to have the St. Louis Chess Club or the U.S. Chess Federation run a tournament, you want it to be St. Louis because there'll be better conditions and more money and nicer venue and stuff like that. I remember once they had it and it was at like the USCF offices. Ugh. Okay. Anyway, this game is Rachael Lee. She has white against Rochelle Wu from the Wu-Tang clan. Rochelle is not only a master, her brother is also a master, and I've known them forever. Rachael Lee's older brother is a grandmaster. So these women have very strong families of chess. And Rachael Lee was probably famous at chess when she was like 6. And I guess they're older now because this is a long time ago. And this game was played last week. Anyway, Rachael Lee white, Rochelle Wu black, U.S. Junior Girls. They got this rook ending, and the engine says it's a draw. The engine says black should start checking. Rook check, keep checking. Then either take this pawn if the king runs away, or if the king saves the G pawn, then we could take this pawn with check. And it's 3 against 3. And the engine says it's a draw. Okay, and Rochelle Wu made the losing move in this position. She didn't want to get checked by the white rook a million times, so she played king g7. And now the engine says white, that extra tempo gives white the win. After check, she played king h6, b5. Now white's pawns are very strong. We can't play rook b1 because white can play rook a2 and then start pushing the pawn, and this pawn can push with it. So black played rook f1 check. Black's trying to get their pawns going. The game was stopped by the arbiter because it was too exciting. King f3, always repeat. If I was black, I'd probably play rook f1 check here, but she played rook d2, takes, and c4. Now white's a pawn up. White has 2 connected passed pawns, and black doesn't have any passed pawns. So king g7, king h6 didn't work, and now looks like Rachael Lee's going to win. Rook b3, I want 2 passed pawns also. Rochelle says no, h4. No stalemate tricks because black always has g5. So rook h3, winning the pawn, but white's pawns are faster, obviously. White's pawns are both on the 5th rank, and black has pawns on the 4th and 3rd rank. And the one on the 4th rank is blocked, so that's not good. Rook b4, b6, h4, pretty reasonable moves. b7, c6, h3, c6. So if h2, then obviously rook a1, and black's pawn is stopped and white's can't be stopped. Check, h2, rook a1, and that's it. Black resigned. White's going to make a queen soon, and black's 2 pawns, only one of them got pretty far. So one little mistake in an endgame can cost you when you have a drawn position. That's what happened in this game. And typically Rochelle Wu is nothing to mess with. Because her name is Wu. But Rachael Lee won the game and very long end game. Chess is tough. That was one of the interesting end games from the tournament. I'm Grandmaster Ben Feingold. This has been 5 Minutes with Ben. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment. And we'll see these women later in the U.S. Women's Championship. Probably over the next 15, 20 years, they'll be scoring near the top. Bye, everybody.